Coming up today on Rookie to Rorty, we've got a League Cup final against Vizela Can, as didn't quite make my way through to the Champions League round of 16 because work was too busy, and also we've got two new strikers here at Benfica because our other two got pinched by Premier League clubs, which wasn't ideal. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 105 of Rookie to Rorty here on Shaun Does FM with Benfica. I hope you're doing one come a day. Just going to play this League Cup final where we take on Vizela. Hopefully can beat those guys. I think it would be now for the fourth time this season. Also a transfer update because we have lost both our strikers who were here going in to that January transfer window. So hopefully you guys are looking forward to that. But it comes off the back of yesterday's episode where we pretty much wrapped up the league title in the early stages of January with wins over Porto prior to Christmas and then Braga off the back of New Year's Day. So if you missed that episode, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Since then, we've been doing the job well in domestic football. 7-1 win there over Aruca. Those guys struggling backed up there with a 2-0 win over the Logo Thieves in Santa Clara Beefy. That one a little bit closer than it probably should have been. In between the Champions League, we picked up a 4-0 win over Oliveira de Hospital in the League Cup semi, which set up this final. Then a 3-0 win over Vitória Guimarães, backing out with a 6-round win in the Portuguese Cup itself, 4-1 there over Tulense, and coming this one off the back of a 3-0 win over Famalicão with a pretty heavy rotation before this League Cup final. So domestically, things going very well for us here with this Benfica team. You can see now an ever so slight move forward to 15 points clear now on top of League. Braga have been slipping up even more, and actually means that Porto have found their way up to second, but still looking pretty good there. The point lead bigger than the games left in the season at this stage. It still looks like we should be picking up that title. Hopefully can find a way to make that a perfect season the way we've been going so far. And in terms of the actual cup itself, seeing as today is the League Cup final, we have made our way through to the semi-finals. We've got Anadia from down in the second tier. The other semi-final is Sporting versus Aruca, so it's looking like it should be a Benfica Sporting final there in the Portuguese Cup. Hopefully can get our hands on that for the first time here at Benfica. The only other issue we've had, though, as well as the transfer window off the yesterday's episode, has been the Champions League. To be fair, before we played that game against Galatasaray, some other results happened on the Tuesday that already meant we were guaranteed to make our way straight through to the round of 16, so it didn't really matter what happened in these two games, and really did put out, especially for that Galatasaray game, quite a rotated team where we did pick up a 0 or draw. A little bit average in this game, but a point in hell, I suppose, isn't too bad with the situation. You'll see that the team that we did put out, not quite a full rotation, but pretty close. So I think we'll take the point there from that game. Unfortunately, though, did suffer our first defeat when we went away and took on Borussia Dortmund, and actually put out for this game a little bit of a stronger team. Andre Lunin in goal did not go well here, coming in for Miguel for this game. That might have been a little bit of a mistake. Took a 1-0 lead early through Murtaz Piskunov, but gave away a penalty there, which Adeyemi put away through one of our young left backs, and Azevedo actually did play quite well. Apart from that, in the second half, Bayer gave Dortmund there a 2-1 lead, which they held onto. So unfortunately, just 1 point from those last two Champions League games. It does mean that we didn't quite hold on to top spot. Bayern Munich overtook us for that, but still strongly inside there of that top 8. And as we saw last season, it doesn't really affect who you get drawn against in that round of 16. And you'll see the teams there that are taking part of that. Both the Portuguese teams have made their way through into that stage of the competition. The only disappointment with that last result, I suppose, is that Borussia Dortmund were already actually out of the race for one of those first knockout playoff round spots when they did beat us. That game actually had nothing running on it for either team, but Dortmund somehow have not made their way in the top 24 alongside Aston Villa, Rennes, Celtic. Those are the big names that did miss out there on the Champions League knockouts, as well as a quick look at who's taking part in this first knockout playoff round. A couple of ties have just started to get underway, but there you'll see who's taking on who. Probably the biggest tie, it might be Juventus versus Napoli, but so far Sporting actually beating Inter, and RB Leipzig 1-0 up over Anderlecht. We'll come back for that at the start of next week. As I said, today was a bit busy at work, haven't quite been able to make my way all the way through that first knockout playoff round and come back for the round of 16. But to be fair, we do have a cup final to come back for in today's episode, albeit we do now have no money left in our transfer budget pretty much, and that's because I had to sign some players I was not expecting to because we lost both of our strikers who were here at the start of yesterday's episode. So it does mean that I think on paper, actually a little bit weaker than what we were at the start of this transfer window, but we have spent a fair bit of money, mainly trying to replace Murtaz Piskunov. As you knew at the end of yesterday's episode, Matthias De Rosa was just waiting on a work permit to go to Arsenal. That did eventually go through, so he left there halfway through January for a fee of 37.5 million. A little bit disappointed because he was a really good backup, but I suppose he was getting a little bit sick of being that, albeit at Arsenal. He is also a squad player, and considering what happened off the back of that, he might be feeling a little bit filthy because Murtaz Piskunov, a bid came in for him of 47.5 million, and that was the value that we agreed with him. He would be sold for. Both those deals, to be fair, to have a decent amount of profit on next sale clauses included in them, so it might end up being a bit more than what we got long term, but 47.5 million for Murtaz Piskunov is a pretty good deal there for Chelsea. He's going to join a couple of other Ukrainians there with the Blues at Stamford Bridge, so unfortunately that did mean we had to find replacements for both our strikers, and in particular Piskunov. That was a big concern, and unfortunately couldn't find anyone that we could afford that was near the quality that we got rid of there. And Murtaz Piskunov already has 1 goal in 2 games to Chelsea, so unfortunately have lost here quite a key player at this Benfica team. We brought in a backup initially to replace their De Rosa, and I thought that we may as well actually sign someone instead of the loan that we had scheduled to go through, because this guy was available relatively cheap for how good he did look. Maxi Medina comes in, formerly of Al Arabi. To be fair, that potential I thought was a little bit higher when my scouts first gave a report on him, but that 4-star potential still is not too bad. The dribbling and finishing, as well as composure, it is quite good. So I think at 22 years old, a Uruguayan international, that's not too bad for 25 million, especially in a January transfer window, to come in as a backup striker. Already has 1 goal in 2 games. So I don't think we've done too badly out of that one, but he's now here as our backup striker is Maxi Medina. And also, then to replace Piskunov, we've spent 98 million overall. It's only about 75 million up front, but still, it's a big old fee, a record in both Portugal and in South Korea for the replacement for Piskunov and Min Hong-sun from Tottenham Hotspur. A little bit better, but that same potential as value is quite good, seeing as we spent so much on him. Truth be told, the attributes aren't quite as good, but overall, it's not that much of a downgrade on what we got rid of. But I don't think we're quite as strong as we were before we did that transfer business in January, which unfortunately was kind of forced on us, and also had to actually sign some players a little bit older than I would have liked to. But Min Hong-sun comes in as our new number 9, just played the 1 game so far, was a solid debut outing. Let's hope that he can do a decent job here at Benfica. So we've got a new South Korean striker and a Uruguayan one. Let's see if they can do the job that both Piskunov and De Rosa did up front, but on paper, it's not quite as good as it looked at the start of yesterday's episode, so hopefully can still go quite deep in our Champions League defence. But today should be a nice easy start for these boys in a big cup final as we take on Vizela. Took these guys on around the United and Atletico Madrid games that we played a couple of episodes ago, beat them 3-0 in the 4th round of the cup, and the same margin in League of Portugal. So hopefully can do something similar here in this League Cup final and defend it. Now, one thing for this competition, we need to start 2 players who are under 21. Thankfully, 1 player's just returned from an injury, and Manuel Miguel is finally back from the hip injury, which kept him out for a good 6 months, it felt like. In game might have not been quite that long, but certainly it was a long-term injury. He's one of our under 21 players in our first team anyway, so we're probably going to have to start him here and take him off around half-time, and let's hope he gets through that period of play. And also Fabio Araujo is the other under 21 player still in the squad from when Miguel was injured, so it does mean not quite first choice at centre-back for this game. But to be fair, we've got 12 subs. We can take off those under 21 players whenever we want. They just need to start, so we definitely can bring on some senior names there in Nyanzo and Renan, or even Rui Silva if we feel like it, if those 2 aren't getting the job done once they actually start this game. But apart from that, we are going with our best 11 these days, with Min Hong-sun up front with no Piskunov, and on the bench it is of course Medina, where De Rosa did used to be. So we'll see here how our new strikers do get on in this League Cup final, which we definitely should be the favourites for. Let's hope we can get the job done also. At the same time, we've got Monaco versus Real Madrid and Sevilla versus PSG in the first leg of that knockout playoff round of the Champions League. So we should be able to see who wins the first leg of those ties by the time we come back off the back of this cup final, but surely can pick up here a trophy, which would actually be for the first time this season off the back of our defeats in both the Super Cups at the start of the year. So quite hopeful here that we can actually get the job done this time around, because that was a pretty poor start to the season, but since then, just the one defeat, which was to Borussia Dortmund in that absolutely nothing game in the Champions League. But of course, heavy favourites here against the team we've already beaten a couple of times quite well this season. Let's just hope our new strikers, they can get the job done. We'll tell the guys here that we want them to actually prove that we're winners, because so far this season, actually not been the case despite how hard we've been to beat here with this Benfica team. Let's hope that hopefully we've brought in a Spurs player who actually knows how to win trophies. It kind of worked with Son there at Tottenham Hotspur. Took a little while, of course, these days has just gone, I think it was to LAFC I saw on social media today. I'm pretty sure it was there and not the LA Galaxy. Let's hope that this one in game is also a bit of a trophy winner, of course. Before the season, we won the Champions League. Tottenham Hotspur were actually one of the more dominant teams in Europe here in this save. So on paper, that should be quite a good deal in terms of quality, but just not quite as good as the players that we got rid of, both him, of course, Piskunov, and Medina coming in for De Rosa. So let's hope here that it doesn't impact us too much, as well as the centre-backs we've got playing in this game. Unfortunately, there's Son, a little bit loose on the ball, but thankfully they clear it Vizela and we get back on the attack. Now, not too sure here if he stayed on side. We'll wait and see. It could be his first goal for the club here, and it might come in a cup final, but I'm pretty sure there he's straight offside, and unfortunately that is the case. Hong Sun there still learning that the offside rule actually gets policed here in Portugal, unlike sometimes in the Premier League. To be fair, it's a pretty close call though. Might be a harsh one there on Hong Sun. Goes quite close to scoring his first goal here at Benfica, and it would have been great time too in the cup final, but no, but a free kick off the back of that for Taya does win that one. Enrique, who's been in great form off back of yesterday's episode. We get it forward there through Castillejo to Hudland. He'll put it away, his 10th goal of the season. So thankfully, that call against Hong Sun, which to be fair was very, very tight. Doesn't take us too long off the back of that to make it 1-0 there. It was Enrique to Forte who helped there with that win in the air. And Castillejo slots through Hudland, who puts it away. So Jeremiah Hudland, the former Crystal Palace player, might be about to get his hands here on some silverware at Benfica for the first time, and only a few minutes later got a throw in here inside of the final third. Again here, Fortea just keeps the ball, and Sanchez brings down Enrique. Now for some reason here, the referee is being called over to his little screen. I thought that one looked like a pretty clear-cut pen. He came through the back of him, it looked like, but maybe he actually won the ball. So just waiting here to see what VAR does have to say. Hopefully a chance for us here to make it 2-0 nice and early. And indeed it is. The referee there just getting a little bit of extra K work. Maybe doesn't think he'll be running around too much. This game might just be based down one end of the field. And Emmanuel Nardi is on penalties and it gets saved. To be fair, I might need to check that. I haven't redone my penalty takers ever since we got rid of Piskunov, and also we got rid of De Rosa. To be fair, he's actually the best one. Let's just see here where the likes of Medina as well as Hong Sun do fall. Probably should be someone like Hudland or Aiden who's taking those penalties. We might just put that in for the rest of this game, because really that was not too ideal. So we'll sort this out here just in case we get one more. That's annoying too, because we actually did penalty practice before this final. So hopefully we can put those changes through. Indeed we can once we go back there to that screen. We'll see though if we still get to view this corner. Indeed we do. Nardi, who just missed the penalty, will try and pick out there Miguel Hez, who's near 2 meters tall, but unfortunately can't quite find him. But now a chance here for redemption. But again, Miguel Hez can't quite win that ball. But then Calafatoglu will float that one far post. Enrique will put it away. We've got a 2-0 lead. Time to praise our boys. It's looking like we'll pick up our first trophy of the season and hold on to our League Cup. So we're really going here a good step towards picking up a treble here in Portugal, as long as we hold on to the league title and hopefully can finish off the job in the Portuguese Cup a little later this season, because that's definitely the trophy I want to win off the back of last season. We got embarrassed and that one early on, a free kick there from Calafatoglu, actually quite well saved there from the Vizela goalkeeper. But so far this game, complete one-way traffic. Try and float that one far post, but Enrique does come out and claim it before it can find the head of Miguel Hez, who to be fair so far is not got injured, which I think is a plus. We'll probably take him off at halftime. In fact, we definitely will with him. Not too sure about Araujo. Might see how we're getting on in terms of the scoreline. It could be a good idea to leave him out there if we're in a strong position, give our first teamers a rest before some big games in the Champions League. But Kalafitoglu, another free kick, that one a low one. It comes off the base of the post. Now, unfortunately, can't quite keep the ball there off the rebound. Castillejo does eventually give away a free kick, but 2-0, really pushing here to make it 3-0 just before halftime. Got 2 minutes here of added time in the first half, but that was extremely one-sided. Just need to make here one sub. Miguel here is not going too well, and we were going to do this one anyway, seeing as he is on a heavy workload. So I think for this game, we might actually bring on Ruiz Silva. While in a strong position, we can give Renan and Nianzo a rest for this game because we're pretty comfortable here with this 2-0 lead. But apart from that, Nadi going a bit fairly. Obviously, the penalty miss won't be helping him out. But apart from that, we're looking pretty good in this game with a 2-0 lead. We'll tell the guys they're doing well, but could do a little bit better. All the essential team talk that's pretty similar to that. Also tell the guys that we've still got faith in them. Hopefully, Hong Sun can pick up here his first goal for the club. Unfortunately, can't quite pump him up yet. He's still too new here at Benfica, but fingers crossed he can get a goal here in the second half. That would make sure that this game was actually worth coming back for. But as I said, a little bit busy at work today and still a fair while until the Champions League round of 16. So to be fair, with the league situation, there wasn't too much more that was worth coming back for until we hit that round of 16 of the Champions League. But now Nadi drops down to a 6.4. That's probably mainly because of the penalty miss, but Fabio Ronaldo can come on for him here with just 20 minutes left in this game. I think that's all that we'll do for now. For the next game in the league that we've got, I think we can just put our rotation. We should be pretty fine in the situation we're in that competition. But now Fortea actually picks up a yellow card, so maybe a chance for us here to make our last couple of subs and make sure these guys actually get a rating, albeit Prody actually wasn't a heavy workload coming into this game, so maybe we just get Fortea here to ease off. Tickle should hopefully be fine on that with a 2-0 lead in this game. But with the subs that we can make, he will take off Enrique on a 6.9, not the best rating that he's ever had in the safe. Pedroto can come on for him. Also, we maybe take off Monsalvo on a 6.8. We could use Nianzu in DM, so maybe that's what we do with him in this one. And also with the other subs that we can make, maybe Robert Renan will actually give some game time to in place of the youngster and Fabio Araujo. So those will be our last couple of subs here in this game. Let's hope that getting Fortea ease off tackles won't prove too costly. But to be fair, so far Vizela have been up to pretty much nothing, and now a free kick. This time Kalafitoglu somewhat takes it short. A looping header though, it goes just wide. Enrique didn't look super convincing under that one, but it was going wide of the post. To be fair, can't blame him too much for the lack of effort. And now we do though go down the other end for a free kick to Vizela. That's a great save from Miguel. Actually got something on that to turn it out for a corner. Good chance there for them to make this interesting and maybe make us think about doing some time-wasty stuff. But for now, we hold on here to a 2-0 lead. We're going to have only a couple of minutes here of extra time, just free, and we've made our way through that quite quickly. We've held on to the League Cup here with this Benfica team, so thankfully have got the job done in a trophy game for the first time this season. Feels a little bit weird saying that as the European champions, but those Super Cups at the start of the season, they were a little bit of a dent to our confidence ever so slightly, but thankfully have got the job done there with a new face up front. Didn't play too badly, but also didn't stand out too much. Maybe could have brought on Medina for him just to see if he maybe could have scored a goal. Has been here ever so slightly longer, might just be a bit more familiar with how we do things here with this Benfica squad already, but we'll hold on to the League Cup off the back of that 2-0 win over Vizela. So that is exactly what we wanted in today's episode. We go one step closer to hopefully picking up a domestic treble that doesn't include the Super Cup this season. Hopefully can pick up the Portuguese Cup in place of that. We'll just make our way here through the post-match celebrations, as we've seen the cartwheel and all that sort of stuff. Could have been 3-0 with that Nadi penalty miss, but off the back of that, we did score through Enrique, and just before then, it was Hudland who got the opener off the back of that Hong Sun goal that just got ruled out for offside, but a dominant display as per usual with this Benfica team. We'll tell the guys it was a good win, nothing too special, and we pick up a trophy here with Benfica for the first time this season. Took us a little bit longer than it did in our first one here, but we've got the job done, so we hold on to the Taça da Liga. Hopefully can win that Portuguese Cup alongside it this season, as well as obviously the Portuguese League is definitely on track to do that. Let's hope we can actually pick up that Portuguese Cup off the back there of holding on to the League Cup. And here are the results from those Champions League games. Real Madrid 2-1 over Monaco, and Mbappe penalty, a difference maker, and then in PSG absolutely wiped the floor there with Sevilla. So we'll see if we take on one of those two teams in the round of 16. Won't go forward, as I said before. Got a wee while to wait until that round does get completed, but we'll definitely come back for that round of 16 at the start of next week. But we have to hold on to the Taça da Liga here with Benfica off the back of that 2-0, and you'll see it there. They've been the dominant team even before we got here in this competition, so thankfully been able to keep that streak going, because we kind of ruined it in the Super Cup early this season and last season in the Portuguese Cup as well. But thankfully that does tick off one of the board objectives. We have won a domestic cup, so good work from us there to hold on to that competition. We'll just go forward here. Hudland does get voted as the man of the match, and I think that will pretty much do it for today's episode. So a little bit there of a transfer update, a couple of new strikers here at the club, to be fair. A little bit there in that opening game, but no doubt they'll eventually find their feet, hopefully in time for that Champions League round of 16 tie we'll come back for at the start of next week. And also, we do pick up there the League Cup for a second season in a row. So hopefully you guys did enjoy today's episode. If you did, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. And as I said, until the start of next week, when we'll come back for the Champions League round of 16 towards the end of February and the early stages of March. Hopefully by that stage too, would have picked up a win in the first leg of our actual Portuguese Cup semi-final, and actually realise that was over 2 legs, so definitely can't come back for that. During the next episode, we'll come back for the round of 16 in the Champions League. So until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.